Welcome to Boulevard's Big Three, where we get to talk about this week's sermon with questions from you, me, John, and our guests. So we kicked off a new series this morning. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It is going to be fun, and we're going to say hello to our guests. If you're watching earlier, you already met Tom Hodges. He's here with his wife, Hillary. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. Just kind of let everybody know about your family, what you do, and how long you have been at North Boulevard.
Yeah, so Tom and Hillary Hodges, the real Coach Hodges in our family. We've been at North Boulevard. This will be our 20th year. On and off, exiled Hillary to Kentucky for 4 years for another coaching job.
Yes.
But we have two children, Cooper, age 12, and Isabel, age 9. I work at Middle Tennessee.
I also work at MTSU, and I get to have the opportunity to teach students to be PE teachers. So I get to have fun all day and get to see children through the community, but also teach our adults to be great teachers.
All right, Abby, this is kind of intimidating. We got a couple of coaches here.
I know.
They're both they got championships right here.
Yeah, I know,
And
right? Yeah, this is a lot of
here we
pressure.
go.
I do remember I had to take, I have a degree in elementary education. I had to take a class that was how to teach PE, and we learned to juggle and double dutch. Jump. I mean, jump rope. So I can't do either of those
Lifelong
things anymore.
skills.
Valuable
I know,
lessons.
right?
Valuable
Really.
lessons.
And I took P, so
And
hey,
look,
we're all in
see,
this together.
we're all in this together.
All right.
Well, guys, we call this the Big Three. So first question or observation, we want to get this started by everybody share a highlight from the sermon. There's so many good things, but can you narrow it down? What you got? You want to start, John? Or you want to start, Hillary?
Yeah,
Hillary's
I
ready.
would love to start. I love the fact what Kelvin said about go out where you are and work and talk about Jesus where you are, because we touch so many people, and I don't think sometimes we realize how many people within our day, within our weeks that we can touch. So I think that's the greatest excitement that I have for our entire church to be doing that. It's going to be an amazing thing to see.
Yeah, for me, I wrote down story plus spirit equals spark. And just the fact you take your story, add the power of the Holy Spirit, it's an opportunity to spark a movement.
Yep, and I think that movement got launched this morning. That's, I guess, my observation is something just happened. I mean, there's a new thing called 5 and 10. There is a mission that we are calling each other to, and if you're watching right now, wherever you are, we're calling you to join that mission because we are an online campus. And so if you're watching right now, you just got called to mission, and so I'm excited to see what God's going to do with all that.
Absolutely. And you think about what Hillary said, we can only be in so many places at one time, and so you are spreading this so much, you online, you are in different countries and different states. You just expanded our mission just by being a part of this.
And I'm going to pick up on what you just said. All right, the church is here. Kind of. The building's here. So this is just one spot. But the church is all over the place.
Absolutely.
And imagine what God can do where this online campus is.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Well, I wrote down a few things, too, as a part of this. And one of them was exactly what you said. Take your story and spirit and spark and have that spark a movement. And it made me think about how when our older kids who have already graduated high school, at their senior year of high school, part of the youth group here, they went through this thing called Senior Devo. And they all learned how to share their story and their testimony. And I think a lot of people feel like my story's boring. I don't have, not everybody has like a big dramatic story, but it's still valuable. And so they learned how to share it and then also how to listen and take in other people's story.
Yes.
I mean, I know you've shared your story here at church before.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's valuable.
It is very valuable, and it can be very intimidating if you do not know how. And I think with that too, Abby, I think just walking your story and letting people see that you're different because you are walking and living for Jesus, and then I think that allows you to share that story easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, well, it's like what you said a minute ago about Joe. I mean, he is a living sermon, and it's because how he's walking out. Those of you, if you don't know, our awesome Joe Wakeham, Joe and Anna, and Joe has got cancer, and they're walking through this together, and their marriage. I mean, all of it.
Yes.
And that's sharing it. Even if they're not maybe writing it down like a memoir, it is a story, and they're sharing it.
We often say, not everybody is called to be an evangelist, but we're all witnesses, and so we got called to be that this morning. Remember that each one of our stories is so unique. Mm-hmm. I mean, Anna and Joe's witness is that God has power over what they're going through. My witness may be different. I may have different life experiences, and my witness that God has power over the challenges of my life is maybe something that you've got a niece, a nephew, a friend, or a neighbor needs to hear that witness, that God has power over grief. God has power over addiction. God has power over failure. God has power over all this stuff. That's part of our witness.
Absolutely. And that's that was one of his big things was he said the same Spirit who empowers Jesus empowers us. And so, yeah. Another thing I wrote down was he said before Jesus sent them out to tell the story, he gave them a story to tell, and he gave them proofs. And so, I mean, what do you guys think about are the proofs that we have as we go out into the world, and you guys both at a campus where there are a lot of unchurched people, like what are the proofs that you share to tell people?
Well, I think for me, the proofs are all around if you're just faithful enough to see them. If you can be still, as another one of Kelvin's points, be still enough to see all the many proofs, the many miracles that are right there in front of us that God gives us every single day. So something as simple as timing issues, when things just time up and line out on maybe a young lady's schedule or a young man's schedule in Hillary's classes that look to be in disarray, then all of a sudden things line up, and it gives her more time to maybe share some interpersonal story to access their heart. For us, recruiting a young lady that may or may not have ever been exposed to Jesus, those type of things, we get emails and calls from literally all over the world about basketball players. Who knows which ones actually see our eyes and ears, but I firmly believe that those proofs cross our path for a reason.
I remember years ago when we launched the New Day vision, or I guess originally it was the 2020 vision, we gathered for prayer. And I remember a lot of people were praying, God, we just want to see you do miracles. And it was, for me personally, I just didn't know whether I was seeing miracles or not. But now, I feel like I see them constantly all day long. As you said, we're surrounded by evidence for the truth of God, and that all become part of our story. And so, yeah, we're surrounded by miracles every day, and that's part of what we get to tell people.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the third thing I wrote down was, and we talked about this a little bit already, but how he said sometimes we have to be still and wait where we are. And it makes me think of that scripture, one of my favorite little tiny scriptures in the Old Testament, Exodus 14:14, where it says, the Lord will fight for you. All you have to do is be still. And it was when they had just come out of Egypt, but the Egyptians were pursuing them. And at that moment, that's what God was telling them to do. Just wait. I'm gonna take care of this. You don't have to do anything. Just wait. And so, what do you think? Are there times where we're supposed to be still, but then how do we know when there's times when we're supposed to move? What do you think?
Abby, I think that's probably one of the hardest things because as a world right now, everything is fast and we want everything right now. And just being able to be still and to listen and to see, like Tom said, and to recognize and try to turn your head into what is Jesus wanting us to do here? What is the blessing? What is the positive versus what can I do? What do I need to do? And I think that's a changing of the mind and changing of the heart. And I think that's would be real exciting if we can really master that, because I think we can see amazing things happen.
Yeah, and I think it does me good to know, why do we move so fast? Mm-hmm. Why are we constantly moving fast? Well, a lot of the times it comes down to lack of faith. We're moving at our own accord, at our own speed, chasing our own path instead of being still. The one thing that amazed Jesus, the only time Jesus was amazed in the Bible, was somebody's humility and faith. So I think being still is a faith act, to just be okay, not knowing, but taking the direction from God.
Yeah,
I had a teacher one time, I'll say who he is because a lot of people may know Tom Albright. He taught within our fellowship for a lot of years. And I remember he said one time, and I almost want to imitate his voice, but I won't do that. But he said one time, he said, folks, there are different seasons to life. Right now, it was a bunch of ministers. Y'all are all supposed to think you're supposed to be doing something. Right now, I just want you guys to learn something. And so sit back, listen, and then you got plenty of time to go do something. But right now, you need to be learning, praying, and learning. So anyway,
So
great.
good. Yeah, that's awesome.
all right. Well, guys, we every week we ask for you guys to share questions, and you don't do it. So I'm going to say,
Call them out.
all you folks that we're giving shout outs to, we need you guys to put in the chat there. We need to get some questions from you because we want to share those, and we'll discuss those starting next week because you're going to flood us with questions, and you can use that QR code that you see on the screen.
That's right. And if you want to rewatch the sermon or watch it for the first time, you can find it at boulevard.to/sermon.
I did that a little quick, didn't I?
Sermons. I think
Guys,
that's right.
that wraps up this week's Big Three. Tom, Hillary, thank you so much for being with
Thank you.
us.
That's right. That was so much fun. So look for this podcast on your favorite platforms and be sure to join us next week for Boulevard's Big Three.